Thank you so much for attending this webinar. Well, just some housekeeping matters that I like to cover before I introduce the speakers to all of you. As you may notice, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded to the Hong Kong HKIArb's website and YouTube later on. And also the raise hand function and the chat function are disabled. We encourage all attendees to have your questions typed in the Q&A box, and we will try to answer them down the road. Attendees not allowed to unmute themselves and not allowed to start their video. In relation to CBD points, we will keep you posted by email down the road from the Law Society. Also, attendees are required to submit an evaluation form afterwards to our administrator. Okay, thank you so much for your attention to those housekeeping matters. Let me take a chance to briefly introduce our two speakers. Mr. Henry Yu is the founder and principal partner of L&Y Law Office and Henry Yu and Associates. A colleague of his, Wallace Chen, also focuses on corporate and commercial matters. Without further ado, I trust both speakers have quite a lot of materials to cover, so I pass the forum to our two speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, and good evening to everyone. It's our honor to be able to speak here about the NFT and some of the arbitration legal issues as well. So this Henry, the founding partner for the L&Y Law Office and the Henry Associates. Just maybe some very brief introduction of myself and our law firm. So I've practiced for like 20 years. So for my first 10 years, it's on like corporate finance regulatory. So at that time, there was nothing called cryptos or Bitcoins or Ethereum, so NFT, of course. And then so doing more on the traditional security stuff on the IPO M&A. And then I went and joined one of the investment bank as the head of legal. So taking care of the ECM, DCMs, and funds and all that, and even compliance and risk management as well. And during that time, I was lucky enough, right, and come to know Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and blockchains around like 2012 and 2013. So first, when I first got into that, is more as a hobby. So to study the blockchain and the potential impact on the legal industry. And then after a couple of years, and then just came to know more about the peers in the crypto industry and the blockchain, and they just say, oh, of course, I don't waste your time, right, in the investment bank and join the crypto world. And that's why we set up a law firm back in 2015, at the end of 2015 and 16, and then to focus on the fintech, particularly the blockchain industry. Interestingly, like for the NFT, right? Actually, this idea actually was already raised back in the 2013-14-ish. At that time, people already thought about tokenizing all the artwork or music or videos and all that. So these ideas are new, but surprisingly, it took actually like more than 5-6 years for the NFT, the idea of NFT flourish. And part of the reasons is that because if you remember, Ethereum was just only started back in 2014, and it took quite a bit of time for people to adopt it and to hold the Ethereum and then of course to run the smart contract and all that. And therefore, with all this new standard for the Ethereum, which we'll explain a little bit later, the NFT become a lot more easier and accessible to the general public. So without further ado, we'll just go through some of the slides and explain a bit more about the background of the NFT.
So this is the outline of today's presentation. First, we'll briefly explain the concept of decentralized finance and Web 3.0, and then we'll briefly discuss the nature of NFT and its application with more focus on Metaverse, which is a big topic in relation with the NFTs. And then we'll explain a bit of the regular's view on NFTs and some of the legal issues of NFTs. So for the first part, because we assume some of the audience may not very familiar with decentralized finance and Web 3.0, so we'll just briefly go through this kind of concept. It will help to facilitate your understanding of the NFT and the topics that we are going to discuss later. So first of all, what's the difference between traditional financial system and the decentralized financial system? It's like traditional financial system. I mean, a typical example will be like stock exchange, for example, which is very typical because seekers will have all the records of share transfers and who is going to transfer from who. And for each buyer and seller who is trying to buy the shares, their counterparty will be the stock exchange. Okay, and then so in other words, like the exchange and the transfer of shares is through intermediates. And decentralized finance is very different. The decentralized financial system is basically there's no intermediates. Basically, it's a peer-to-peer transaction. That means like a buyer and seller, they buy and sell directly with each other. But at the same time, like each participant will have their own ledger, which will record whatever new transaction that has passed through. So that's why there's no intermediates and it's more direct. And to some extent, it can be using the blockchain technology, it will be more transparent. So these are some of the comparison between the decentralized finance and centralized finance. And here I would like to explain a bit. A lot of the decentralized finance will be executed by smart contracts. So what's smart contract? Smart contract is basically some kind of program code. It's not really a contract, but it's just some kind of program code that can be automatically executed based on certain conditions. For example, if there's a lockup period, then like by using a smart contract, if you lock it for 3 months, then basically we can ensure that the delivery will be released 3 months after. And by doing that, like we ensure the certainty of the execution and the completions. And once smart contract is executed, is irreversible. That means like it cannot be turned back to the original positions. So that is the smart contract concept, which will be very important to understand what we are going to talk about in the latest slides. And yes, the rest I think is quite clear and self-explanatory. Then I will not just go through. But an important point is that like for decentralized finance, there's no intermediates. And so that is a big difference between central finance and decentralized finance. Okay. And then now we are going to talk about Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. So what we are now using is basically Web 2.0. It's more like how to say, there's not much integration of with different server. Basically, it's a centralized server, and then you just get the information from the database. And that is more one, how to say, two-way directions only. And then, but like in the world of Web 3.0, basically there will be more interactions. Like think about it's more like you're playing different computer games, and different computer games they will be merging together and can be into a big single big game. For example, like you know, if Sony, because like for example, Spider-Man is owned by Sony, so you will not have other characters unless they really cross over with other superheroes, for example, like those Marvels. But in Web 3.0, this can happen because like it can be everything is being connected, and we'll discuss a little bit more how will it be interact in our live or other application it can be. So this is just some of the showing the difference between Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. And the example is self-explanatory, like Web 1.0 will be by Yahoo and Google. Web 2.0 maybe Facebook and WhatsApp is a typical example. And Web 3.0 will be by OpenSea.
Okay, it's just a bit of the explanation. So for Web 1.0 is just directional. So you just go on to Google, on Yahoo, and MSN, right, to search for the information that you need. For like Web 1.2 is a Facebook, is a social network or voice app, so you can communicate with each other, but with the central server being run by Facebook or the voice app team of Facebook, right? Obviously. Or Instagram, right? But for the Web 3.0, then supposedly then that will be run by the different node side for Ethereum, right? For example, then there will be the node side over 10,000 of like different node side being hosted by anyone. So if any of those nodes being down, right? So not working, the out of but the other node will still be working, and the whole network will still be secure in that sense.
Okay, next we are going to talk about the part 2 of our, which is the nature of NFT. So what is NFT? NFT stands for a non-fungible token. So by its name is basically means one of a kind of digital token that is usually it will be linked to other object or asset. And it's based on a decentralized finance, and as I said before, it's a more peer-to-peer transaction, and usually exists on blockchain. And each time when the NFT change hand, the transaction will be verified and record according to the chain of ownership. And so basically, all the people can see through the chain of the root of the transactions.
But one thing we should emphasize here is that the NFT these days that we are referring to or talking about are the non-fractionalized NFT. Even these they just call it NFT. So when they say non-fractionalized, means that each NFT will be separate and could be sold or buy on a standalone basis. So as contrary to that, when they say it's a fractionalized NFT, let's say Mona Lisa, right? So Mona Lisa on this world, there's only one original Mona Lisas, and then you say, oh, that's too expensive, it was like billions of dollars, right? And let's say fractionalize it, let's create 10,000 NFT to co-own the same Mona Lisa. That would be fractionalized NFT. But for most, if not all the NFT these days, right, we are all referring to the non-fractionalized NFTs.
Yes, and this topic is very important. We're going to go through this the legal implication of fractionalized and non-fractionalized NFTs in the later slide. So to visualize what's NFT, then I usually use this example that is like NFT is sort of like a unique card plate that has a unique number and will link to some kind of underlying asset. It can be anything. So in our example, that will be the car. Okay, so basically NFT is just the card plate, and then the car is the underlying object. So the NFT has the unique number and to identify that basically the underlying object.
This is very important. A lot of people, even these days in the market, are confused because a lot of people thought that the NFT means the collectible, i.e. the car in this thing, but it's not the case. NFT is just basically a card plate. It refers back to the website or whatever the location of the collectible. Let's say, for example, let's say the Beeple. If someone knows the artwork, right, is the NFT. So the NFT itself is just only pinpointing a particular locations of that JPEG file on the server. So even though, why is that so important? Because even though the NFT itself is safe and being stored on, let's say, Ethereum and all that, the collectible itself, the JPEG file, could still be saved on a centralized server. So even this NFT could not be changed or could not be hacked, it remains possible for the underlying collectible, which is on a central server, could still be hacked. So, of course, the technology is still evolving, and some of our clients are actually working on how to save the collectible on the decentralized cloud. Let's say, for example, then by that time, then both the NFT and the collectible was on the decentralized world. But right now, most of them, the collectibles are actually being saved on a centralized cloud. So this is really important, and so how to assess the risk when you if you're buying some of these NFT or advising your clients.
Yes, I would like to add on this is because so when people saying they are buying the NFT, buying or selling the NFTs, they are just buying or selling the car plate. In effect, they are not necessarily selling the collectibles. So because just like you are buying or selling a car plate, not necessarily means that you are buying and selling the car. So in terms of the legal definitions and also the legal concept, there's a great distinction between the two. And also Henry has also made a good point is that because NFT is just a pointer of the location of the collectible and is done through by a server. So if anything happened to the server, then the NFT may not be really able to point to the correct locations. And that is also a risk that anyone who is buying NFT needs to be considered.
So the next few slides is just a very simple comparisons of the fungible tokens and the non-fungible tokens, the NFTs, right? So for example, when we say the fungible tokens will be in the old world, let's say for example, referring to the Bitcoins and Ethereums, because for example, each Bitcoin and Ethereum are basically identical. And interchangeable, as compared to the NFT, they are normally non-interchangeable. Let's say we show the examples here, the CryptoPunks here is that, so each of them, each profile pic will be different. So each of them is the NFT. And secondly, is so for the fungible tokens, normally that divisible, for example, the Bitcoins will be divisible up to 18 decimal places. So it could be not one Bitcoins. But for the NFT, that is non-divisible. So you have to buy and sell the entire NFT, so the entire profile pic, basically. And thirdly, so and the fungible token that will be uniform. So they are basically all the Bitcoins and Ethereum will be identical to each other, and then each token for the NFT will be unique and different. And lastly, for example, if the tokens are being issued on Ethereum, they are issued normally under different standard. So for the fungible tokens, they will normally be issued under the ERC-20 standard, and the non-fungible tokens, they are more commonly issued on the ERC-721 standards. So these are different standards for different type of token, not just other than ERC-721. You may hear some in ERC-1155 or some of the others, but for your purpose, they will not be so much different, but just want you to understand that there are different sort of standard for issuing different types of tokens here.
Yeah, so other characters of NFTs like scarcity, it depends on, because usually NFT represent the originality of some collectibles, so that will create some kind of scarcity. And also it's because a lot of them are stored on the blockchain, so it's indestructible and is easily verifiable because everyone can see through the chain, as what we have discussed previously. And here is just some of the marketing data that can show you of what NFT mostly used. And we'll discuss this a bit later with some of the applications.
But you can see by weight of the market cap these days, profile pic, basically the PFP is still the most I mean by way of market cap, most common NFT being issued these days, then followed by some collectibles and games, and then after that there will be the art and Metaverse, basically.
Yeah, so we note that nowadays most of the NFT project is actually IP driven. It commonly used in the underlying object will be usually profile pictures, art, music, and fashions.
And just for some of these are particularly for the profile pics. They are you see some of the examples here, the CryptoPunk, Bored Ape, and all that. So it becomes such a standard that I think some of our clients can help the issuers to issue this one within a week. So from the as long as you have the idea being generated and have some of the so they can produce everything, like there's such easy I mean that's how they've been issued. So I think most demanding and is the marketing, because you have to create, of course, what they create the hype and maintain the community and all that to make sure there are enough people to know your project and to buy into your project, right? And that will be the difficult part. But for the technical part, for the issuance, right, that could be as quick as like a week or two, finish the project.
Yes, and you can see that like in terms of CryptoPunk and also the base, actually there's a great increase in price like for those profile pictures, but so that's why we see that a lot of multi-internationals are also stepping in this NFT market, like Starbucks, Line, MasterCard, and eBay.
The reason why we put it here is that, so a lot of people, of course, understand is what we call the crypto winter and second crypto winters here, and even that, of course, the Ethereum price or the NFT price have dropped significantly, like sometimes by more than half. But even like in the last few months, we want to show that I mean the market is still being active. Some of the biggest corporations, right, like Starbucks, Line, MasterCard here are still adopting the NFT in one way or the other. You see MasterCard, I mean, was a really big thing because it allows some of the retail to buy into the NFT a lot easier. And even for, like, as you can see, eBay have already acquired the marketplace, and of course, we believe that that they will launch their own marketplace, and therefore a lot more retail and from the existing eBay customers will be able to tap into this as well. So for this, we will give you some of the what we call the most profitable NFT projects, even in the same quarter of 2022. That's the crypto winter, as we said. So as you can see, the most profitable one is still the Metaverse, which is called the Other Side. Some of the net profit that they have gained so far is like more than $300 million US. So that's by calculating some of the transactions being gained is 377 million, and some of the transactions, of course, is result in a loss of 77 million. So that's how. So with all these transactions, they come with the net profit of like 300 million as a total for all the transactions Q2, and most of the other, as you can see, are actually collectibles, including like Moonbirds, Bored Ape. I think a lot of you are maybe very familiar with that, and Azuki as well. So and they are coming up with like for Moonbirds that will be 224 million, and Bored Ape is 132 million. So that and you may have a look at that for Bored Ape, even though it just only placed at the third place in terms of total profit. But like if you look at the average profit, it has the highest one, which is over $50,000 US per resale. So that's the reason why people, and as you can see, some they're being used as a brand as well. Some of the restaurants and some of the items, which we'll describe a little bit later, they use some of the Bored Ape as well. And lastly, we can introduce one of the, you may notice it's called the Ethereum name surface, which is just the only utility type of NFT here. They are basically selling the website name for this, and they still, but that will be on the Web3 site, and the total profit for that would be $32 million USD. So for some of the specific sales for the NFT, so the top sales like in the Q2 this year, is that the first of all is still the crypto punk, and the profit for the resale. The original owner just bought it for $9,000 and then they sold it for more than $3 million, and that's how they made a profit of 3.2 million, right? And the other one will be the other side ape. So for each of these, you can see is like, well, for the profit, it will be nearly or over $1 million. So that's the reason why a lot of these participants are still very enthusiastic in buying and trading this of NFT these days.
Yes, so like Henry has mentioned that like the crypto punks, and this just to show that like the largest NFT transaction that we have in here, and because like and for example, Beeple's artwork that Henry has just mentioned previously is the most expensive NFT have been sold, which considered worth 5,000 days. Why is 5,000 days? Because the artist has been created worth 5,000 pictures, and it was sold in Christie Auction House for more than 69 million US dollar. And this just to show you that how NFT artworks can be so expensive. And the Twitter co-founder also have sold the first tweet worth the price of 2.9 million in March 2021.
But when you see that, basically, even a tweet can be made as an NFT. But you will note that, like, when he already sold it, like Jack Dorsey, right? He sold it for 2.9 million. But lucky to the buyer, right? If you in the auctions basically being held in early April 2022, the same tweet NFT was only worth like $280 and even 1 week later, even the bid on the OpenSea for that just only to approximately $10,000. So you can see the value of that tweet NFT dropped over 99% in value. And the other one is actually the LeBron James, right? He made a big news in doing the NBA Top Shot NFT basketball card. That's exactly. I'm sure some of you may have played with the basketball card, like when we were like in our teenage, right? And now they put the same basketball card but in an NFT form, and the LeBron James one attracted $208,000 back in February 2001 and set the record. But 1.5 years later, the NBA Top Shot has experienced, as you can see, some of the sharp decline since the peak back in the Feb 2001. The gross sales dropped by 96%, and some of the unique buyers fell by 90%. But even in all these figures, right, these are still very lucrative profit for like NBA Top Shot as a whole.
So these are the top NFT marketplace that people usually buy and sell NFT, and you can see like the top one is basically OpenSea with 3.64 billion in volume, and others is relatively small, and then so I think the most tradable and liquid NFT market is still OpenSea. And but like compare with first quarter of 2022, like the most of the matrix has been down by about 25% in terms of trade volume or profit or loss and number of sellers, all this. So a lot of people are saying that it's now the winter has already come. And you can see that there's a significant drop in terms of the NFT price too. As time passes by, we'll see whether there will be any rebounds in the future. And another figures that we can tell is by looking at the active wallets, and we also see that in terms of different markets, like art is still accounting the least impact by this bear market, and its trade volume only decreased from 673 million to 470 million US dollar.
So which is still a very good market for art as well.
Yes. Next, we're going to talk about the application of NFTs. And this slide shows most of the NFT applications and figurative. And you can see that like we have mentioned arts before, and a lot of now are using in apply in game, and also in some of the identity or license social media too. And we'll go through this. For some of the artwork, why NFT is being used in the artwork? Because like before the NFT, it's very difficult to verify the authenticity of the artwork, and this becomes a challenge for the industry. And by making use of the blockchain technology, which can provide and track unique digital artwork in the form of NFT, and so that create confidence and trust. And so that's why a lot of artwork, especially those digital artworks, make use of NFT. And so some of the popular or prestigious artwork that has been auctioned by Christie New York include this portrait of a mind, and that is basically a circle panel inscribed with 300,000 digits of Bitcoin code, and sold in nearly 131,000 US dollar. And these are just
well, yeah, these are some of the art shows and exhibitions. Just want to show you that these are very active. So you will see, like some of you may have heard about them, the Metaverse before, right? And some of the exhibitions. And even in mainland China, they have launched the NFTs and galleries as well. And some of the online, offline and online, even People Dailies launch a digital collectibles NFT gallery back in January 2022. And that's one of the examples.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that it has become a new trend for a lot of mainland China museum. They are trying to issue those NFT by digitalizing those some of the exhibit that they have, like so that like people can virtually own those exhibits.
And one of the example maybe you may see in the market, Hong Kong market, is that's called a Fratique, and Fratique is claimed to be the world's first blockchain platform for fractionalized historical artifacts. They are using the blockchain technology to enable the collectors, they say, to share the ownership of a physical art piece. And this is exactly the first art piece they try to fractionalize. We don't discuss the legality of that, but I just want to show that's what's happening in the market. And interestingly, this is the first time we see that this platform actually use a DAO structure to enable to collectors to manage and co-own the art piece. The DAO, we'll explain a little bit more, is a new form of structure, particularly for the blockchain. So it's not a company, it's not a public company. More likely, to say DAO is more like a unregistered association, unregistered partnership. So these normally run on a blockchain, and each of the holders will hold a token and claim to be the DAO, one of the DAO member. And some of the membership could be up to thousands or tens of thousands of members in the same DAO, and they could normally vote on the directions or the actions to be taken by the DAO. So, for example, for this artwork, right, they could vote and say, oh, whether they should sell it at a particular price, or whether they could exhibit it on the exhibitions or the museums or whatever to be done with it, or even to license it for other for commercial purposes as well. So so this is one of them, and that was released on the 3rd of August, and they issued 10,000 NFT and carrying some management right with it, and each of it is being sold for roughly 1,000 USDC, so roughly $1,000 US, which is roughly 8,000 Hong Kong dollars. Because based on that valuation report, right, they claim to be the total value of this funds is actually $10 million US.
Yes. By the way, DAO means decentralized autonomous organization. So in short form, that's why we call DAO. So next major application nowadays is fashion, and so because a lot of customers, like, they are worried about whether the goods, the luxury goods that they buy is really the real one. So NFT may help to solve these issues, because like they can just scan a QR code to check the price tag, and also ensure in the form of NFT to ensure that the goods is the luxury goods that they buy, the handbags is really the real one and from the real shops. And they can also get a lot of details of where it is made and all those kind of things.
So, for example, we just name a few, right? So, like Tiffany & Co, they have launched recently. Actually, it was August this year. They have launched the NFT, which is called the NFT TIFF. So they sold it at the 30 ETH, which is roughly 50,000 per NFT. So they there's a racking in more than like 12.5 million already in total. So the other one, there's Gucci. Gucci has partnered with a digital character brand, Super Plastic, and launched Super Gucci collections, NFT collections already. Nike, of course, I'm sure everyone is all about Nike. They have already bought the one of the renowned studio in the digital world, which is called the RTFKT Studios, and launched their virtual sneakers, as you can see from in the pic, the crypto cake, and sold it for $134,000 already. And StepN is actually one of the NFT being used. So it's more a social fi GameFi using this exactly what you see here. So they have a very clever system. So they have what they call the GST, which is their own tokens. So with buying this NFT, you can run each day. You can run for like 20 to 30 minutes and earn GST, the tokens. So by using GST, then you can convert it back to GMT or convert it back to Solana and ultimately convert it back to USDT. So that's how the people make money. So you may see even in Hong Kong, some of the clients like they buy 7, 8 iPhones, and then each of these iPhones they install one of these StepN trainers, and then they run in Central and then there's for half an hour and all that, so they can how they can earn money by just running. That's how they what's happening right now.
Yes, another application will be sports, like because you can because the nature of your NFT is related to the uniqueness. So it can be sold with the underlying object as being the tickets, and so because each tickets can be very unique based on the seats and also the time and the location, all that. So that's why NFT can be used, and of course the NBA Top Shop, like we also talk about this, like the NFT allow the classical, for example, shooting video can also made as an NFT and for the fans to buy. And NFT Top Shop,
we have already mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like Ferrari had also tried to step into the NFT market, and we will just to show you that Ferrari had also entered this NFT market. And next big one is the gaming. Like gaming in the past is like, for example, a lot of people, they have played the games and try to earn some weapons, but like this kind of weapons is still stored within the game or the game developers servers. Like, but with the NFT, it can be personalized, become an asset or object, and can be taken out and use it in other games, and so that becomes the idea of the metaverse. And NC Infinity is a very classic example that is a play to earn with some of the idols. And soccer is another one. This is just another example. We'll just go. And privilege. Okay, so this is a very interesting business concept, because like each NFT is representing one bottle of whiskey or wine, and then like, so the whiskey or wine will be stored in certain place. It will never be moved, but like the NFT can be freely transferred, and that actually increase the liquidity of the bottle to be bought. So of course, like if you want to redeem the bottle, then you of course you can, but like you need to surrender your NFT, and the NFT will be burned, and so that you get the physical real bottle, and that is how it works. And the advantage of this is because a lot of wine or whiskeys, like they change hand a lot, and no one can really know where the what they are buying is truly come from the real vineyard. So NFT can help to ensure the authenticity of the bottle of the wine or alcohol. Yes. So this is just another example for
this actually, like in Hong Kong, you may notice that, like maybe in newspaper. So that's why I put here, and as another example. And I think they're running a show and seminar next week as well.
Yes. So but it is a little bit different. It's a membership token of this. So next we're going to talk about the metaverse. So metaverse is terms like that was first in the fiction of science fiction in 1998. So it's a prefix of meta and universe. So it means basically like a share virtual world where there's like land and buildings, and people just sort of like living in a virtual world. And how the items can be bought and sold will be making use of the blockchain and the NFT. And so metaverse basically nowadays has already developed into means like to comprise multiple blockchain. So it means like Bitcoin and Ethereum and so on each are different blockchains, but with metaverse they can now have interactions between the chain. And so creators of they will have their virtual idols and then be engaged in the metaverse. And that is particularly attractive for game developers, because that will basically what will become is like multiple games can be merged together, and the players can participate and interact with each other.
I would, on this, I would highly recommend one of the movie, The Ready Player One, if you have not watched that, because I think you get a real sense of what the future metaverse will look like as well.
Yes.
So for right now, I think the two of the most prominent metaverse, as you may have heard, one is called the Sandbox. So the part of reasons why it's so popular these days is that you can see one of the big piece of land is being bought by New World, the NWD. So it is a big piece of land being bought by Adrian Chen.
Yeah, when we talk about land, means like actually virtual land.
The virtual land.
On
the Sandbox. And then of course, South China bought another one, and some of this you can see being bought by Binance, and then some of the land are being on sale next to them. as well.
Yeah, people will, after they bought the land, they may build something, and then it will become some kind of economy, and then like in a virtual world, basically. So so that's why a lot of people find this idea very attractive.
So, for example, like HSBC have entered into the Metaverse, and they have acquired a plot of land, the real estate, within the sandbox, and they built the full bank to have a service desk, basically in the Metaverse. And I think one big thing that I'm sure you guys to look out for is actually the Facebook, right? As you know, they have changed the name to Meta. So back in November last year, Mark Zuckerberg presented Metaverse as the successor to the mobile internet. And so after rebranding, that they have remade a great plan to unlock the potential of the Metaverse. And so that's something currently under research. But if you look at the YouTube, they have some very good demo as to what they're building right now. And more importantly, recently they introduced the Horizon Home on the Metaverse. So you have to buy the Quest headset, the virtual reality, the VR headset, and then with that, you could experience, as you can see on the graph, this Horizon Home, where you can meet with your friends and have certain interactions with all that. You can relax and play with friends and watch movies and maybe play some games together in the Horizon Home. And they have actually formed a standards forum with some of the most prominent corporations worldwide. You can see Adobe, Autodesk, Microsoft, and NVIDIA, they are all part of this forum. So they are setting, again, the standard for building the Metaverse in the future. So other than Facebook, Meta, or some of the other company that you may have heard of, Roblox, Microsoft, Adobe, Snap, they are all building one or the other the Metaverse as well.
Yeah, so we have talked so much about the applications. Now we move to the views of regulators on NFT. So the SFC, the Security and Futures Commissions, they have issued some statements on the NFT this year in June 6th. Basically, what they think is that like NFT is an area that need to be watched for the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. Where the NFT will be under SFC supervisions will depends on the degree of the risk and also how you are going to frame it. From the message, like an NFT is exposed to risk as to because a lot of them is in liquid secondary market and is volatile, and also the pricing is not very transparent and is open to fraud and hacking. So they ask the general public of Hong Kong to be careful of those risks when you buy NFTs. And from their standpoint, they think that NFT are generally not regulated by the SFO, the Securities and Futures Ordinance. But however, that's only on the condition that NFT is really a digital representation of a collectible. That means that it's like for the entire digital underlying objects. Like if there's a case, then it will not be fall within the NFTs, fall within the SFC's supervisions.
I would say this is the most important statement so far issued by the SFC on that.
Yeah, because like from the SFC's point of view, they think that like if it is a fractionalized NFT, then SFC think that it will become a collective investment scheme, and that will be under the SFO. So what is collective investment scheme? Basically, it consists of 4 elements. First, there must be an arrangement of property, and participants do not have a day-to-day control over the management of the property, and the property has to be managed as a whole and derived with some kind of profit or interest, and they are pooled together. And the purpose of those management is for the participant to share those profit, interest, or income from the acquired property. So as you can see of the arrangement of the fractionalized NFT, it will be likely become the collective investment scheme, and therefore subject to the supervision of the NFC. And that is why fractionalized NFT is not very common in the market.
Okay. So for the last part, we want to talk about some of the legal issues of the NFT as well. So one of the most important one is actually the IP rights for the NFTs. So as compared to one thing that we should when you come to advise your clients is that, and a lot of the NFT holders, they got confused is what sort of rights they have owned. So so most of the NFTs, right, hopefully they would be able to own, to sell, to lend, or transfer the NFT itself. But it all actually depends on the particular terms of the marketplace for the NFT is actually created or sold. So well, what we're trying to say is that because for each of the NFT, it will be normally there will be a creator, the original artwork. Let's say the punk, right? Someone would have create and drawn the punk itself and create it, and then will have sold it to the holder. So you have to be really careful if you advise the client to buy or any of this NFT is to look into the term as to what they are buying indeed. Most of the time, I think the creator will retain, if not all, at least certain of the IP rights in the work, and they will just sell, or actually they just sold the property or itself to the NFT itself to them, but the original artwork sometimes they will retain it.
Yes, like and that is really the case, and especially a lot of the digital work. For example, even if you have buy the digital work, it may not be necessary that they will create or allow you for any commercial use. So you must be really look into the terms and conditions of the marketplace that you are going to buy from. And a lot of times you are not able to get the entire copyrights of all those the underlying collectibles. And it's also important to understand that different countries have different regulations in terms of the IP rights. Like for example, in the US, registration is required, but while in Australia, the right protected by the copyright is automatically arise upon the creation of work. So because of the global nature of the NFTs, this is also something that you need to be think about.
Yeah, so that's why when we advise some of these NFT projects, right, we have to not just advise on the Hong Kong law aspect or the PLC, right? We have to advise on the US, Australia, and EU as well, so to have a global strategy in terms of their IP rights.
So and a lot of times we need to think about whether you create, whether even the creator creates something and tokenize it in the form of NFT, then there's a possibility that it may actually infringe in other third parties' IP rights. And so that is also something that when you buy NFT, you need to be careful about. And theoretically, it's also can be made for money laundering and tax evasion, because a lot of times you can create anonymous NFT and list it for sale and basically purchase by itself, by the creator, and by doing that, you can have the purpose of avoiding tax or money laundering.
Okay, so for all these legal issues, right? But it's interesting to know that actually arbitrations is actually one of the most widely used for the crypto and NFT world. If you look at some of the exchanges, let's say Binance, right? They're actually using in the terms and conditions, they're using the Hong Kong arbitrations, right, and the Hong Kong IAC as a venue for dispute resolutions. And even for the NFT, OpenSea, they are using the California as well arbitration. So we want to make use, let's say, actually Binance, the terms and conditions. Interestingly, that terms and conditions are being claimed to be one of the best drafted terms and conditions. Why is that the case? There's one of the example in mid-August 2021, some third-party funder, which is called the Little Capital, tried to bring a class actions by way of Hong Kong SEC arbitrations for potentially up to 700 claimants against one of the incident back in the May 2021. So on that day, because that's one of the largest percentage drop ever in Bitcoin, and Binance just so happened was offline, and a lot of the traders are unable to trade on that day, and obviously that would result in huge losses for those traders. So according to the Binance term of use, right, they make use with a clear reference to use Hong Kong IAC arbitrations and with the seat in Hong Kong to resolve for dispute resolutions. But what's interesting, and one of the challenges to bring this sort of arbitration against Binance, for example, the parties. Binance has numbers of different corporate vehicles behind the platform. One could be called the Binance Holdings Limited, which is a company incorporated and with an address in Cayman Island. One of them other in Binance Limited and with a corporate incorporated in Hong Kong. There are a lot more other Binance sisters companies, and they are kind of disclose more, but just that they have a lot of different entities. So one of these challenges that you could face and you could imagine when bringing arbitrations in the NFT or crypto world is to identify the proper parties to sue against. But and most of the time you may see that you may not be able to identify your counterparties, because in the terms of use or in the white papers and on the website, they have not properly identified themselves. And even if they identify themselves, they could claim to be a DAO, so the decentralized autonomous organization, which basically you may know who they are. And also, right, there are a lot of different questions as well. Like, let's say in that case, right, for example, Binance, is that some of them they're trading not just only Bitcoins, right? They're trading derivatives. So, but unfortunately, derivatives trading may not be considered as legal under the Hong Kong law or some of the other jurisdictions, purely because Binance or the other platform may not have acquired the necessary licenses for that. So that raised the questions, right? If, let's say, as a trader or as a user of those crypto products, and you are aware that that may not be entirely proper on that platform, to what extent you can bring legal action against them, that will be subject to debate as well. And thirdly, of course, even if you are lucky enough, right, in obtaining the arbitral award against your counterparty, right, the next question is how to enforce it to get your crypto asset back, because it will be in a wallet. You do not know who the owners is or even where they are located. So you can see that on the blockchain, but yeah. We have come across those cases before, and then if you have to seek a court order, then that may be really difficult as well. And lastly, we want to, for the purpose of today's seminar, we foresee that in the future, let's say for example, Metaverse, if there's any legal dispute, because as you can imagine, people joining the Metaverse could be people from everywhere in the world. It could be from Hong Kong, China, US, EU, or Africa, or wherever, right, or Middle East. So you will need, we could imagine that we will need some other alternative dispute resolution, right, in order to accommodate the players from different jurisdictions. And in recent years, we see one idea is coming up, which is called the blockchain-based alternative dispute resolutions. And they are using a DAO structure. The decentralized autonomous organizations. So what is a DAO structure? A DAO structure is a self-governing committee with certain voting system and based on smart contract. So they are based on a membership base and represented by tokens. So what does it mean? So for each of these DAO, normally they will issue some DAO tokens and they're called the membership tokens. So you have to acquire this DAO token in order to be able to vote on that. So they can come up with some of the proposal, as we said before, whether they should sell certain items, which is help with the DAO, you claim, and you can vote. So in this blockchain-based alternative dispute resolution DAO, you could select jurors, based on different options, and the DAO governance voting could also relate to the rules, the policies on different parameters of the BDL system. So there are certain already existing examples right now. I've put here Clara's, Aragon Court, and Jewel. There are some of the examples where they have tried to use DAO and they have adopted DAO-based dispute resolutions. Just very briefly, I'll use Claros as an example. Claro is a protocol, is an opt-in cost system built on Ethereum, and DAO is being used as acting as the independent third party. So if there are two disputing parties, right? What would they do? They must deploy a smart contract and then designate Claros as the arbitrator. And then the two parties can choose how many jurors that they want, and they will rule their contract based on in case a dispute occurs. And then they will have to specify the voting option for the jurors, also there's guilty, not guilty, and all that, and being liable or not liable, right? And they can specify the behavior of the contract. Let's say, for example, if in case this certain option is that, oh, you have to repay me certain Ethereums, right? In case I lost or in case I win. So these are some of you have to specify the behavior as the outcome for the jurors. And for the Caro cost system, they have developed a number of different courts under what they claim the general court. General court is the highest court, and then you can have a different type of courts for different type of dispute. And each of them have rules and different policy and different guidelines for the arbitrations. And they could continue to build. So they could ask the DAO could pass a proposal and they could build more subcourt if they want to. So interestingly, one of the most interesting features is that this Claros had issued a token called PNK tokens. So the PNK holders can select the specific court and you can also buy the PNK and become PNK holders and then become a juror candidate by staking their tokens. What they mean by staking is that means you have to deposit the PNK tokens into the system and just leave it there. So and you cannot trade it. And then by doing that, then you could become a juror candidate. And then they claim that the juror then for each of the case will be selected randomly, and the chance of being chosen as a juror is by one of the probability is basically proportional to the amount of the PNK tokens being staked.
So in other words, like you stake more, then like your chance of being the juror candidate will increase.
Right, and also the weight of your vote will increase if you stake more tokens. So this is one of the examples for, let's say there are 6 different owners, the A, B, C, D, E, F, different tokens. Those each of them have taken, like you can see, owner A has taken like 1,000 PNK tokens. B have 1,500, C is 500, and etc. So So a total of
and then
and then a total of 6 juror candidates have taken a total of 10,000 PNK tokens, and then 5 tokens are being drawn randomly. Let's say number 2519, 4956, 532264, 3342, and 9531. So as a result of that, candidate B, C, D, and F are being selected as jurors. And interestingly, D, because he has staked more tokens than the others, so he has 2 votes as compared to the other one has only 1 vote, as you can see in the table. So each of the jurors commits to a vote that reflects his voting on the case. And they normally use they will use the plurality voting system, so they do not have to have the majority, just only the greatest number of the votes will win. And they could, right now the juror could only vote for 1 option, but no more than 1, and the winning choice is the greatest number of the votes. And in the future, they will build in more options. So this is one of the example. So if Bob is the one of the party, right, and he paid 1 ETH to be the arbitration fees, and you can see that let's say there are 7 jurors here, 5 is voting for Bob, and then 2 of them are voting against. Under the Claro system, you can see that the top 5, Daniel, D, E, G, F, H, right? In that sense, they will share the 1 ETH. So each of them have 0.2 ETH each. And also, they will share 1,000 PNK tokens. So the losing jurors will have to lose 500 PNK tokens, each of them. So the I and J will lose each of them 500 PNK tokens, and that will be shared equally by the winning 5 jurors, D, E, G, F, H. Each of them will get 200 PNK tokens. So
as their reward.
As the reward for taking part, as an incentive to taking part in this arbitration. So so you see the coherent, what they call the coherent jurors will turn out with the winning options. They will have rewards, and the incoherent jurors will lose certain of the PNK tokens. So the tokens are encouraged to vote in line with the plurality. And as you will note, right, for the purpose of the governance, the PNK tokens are entitled to vote on the corporate governance matters, and that voting power is proportional to the number of PNK tokens that are being held, and they can vote on the policy for the courts and the subcourts. They can add even more new subcourts, and they can set the parameters for the subcourts as well. And whether you agree with this new BDR, right? We see some of the number of the issues because we will see that they could be prone to manipulations or control by some of the large token holders because they have more votes, and they could ultimately result in a centralization of the voting power. And secondly, because of the very binary restricted nature of the voting options, we're not sure whether that's appropriate for some of the arbitrations, and the jurors are not always being able to determine the outcome of the dispute, because according to what they consider to be right, fair, or just, because they're just being left with, as we said, just only certain options being presented by the parties, and they may be incentivized to go with the plurality and with the majority of the people. So that incentive system is a little bit questionable, and even if they're lucky enough, as I said, the party is lucky enough to get the arbitral award, how to enforce it remain an issue right now. But we want to introduce this as an idea, so you can see this potential BDR arbitrations is upcoming, and you may consider how to participate in this. I know time is running out. We've gone through a lot of issues. I just leave it to see whether you guys have any Q&A.
Thank you so much, Henry and Wallace. Seems to me there are some questions posed to you. I trust you can also read from the Q&A box. Perhaps I take the liberty of pick 2 and then you have a chance to answer our audience. The first one, let me read this. is the NFT in physical form, such as the car plate, which is to be put on the car? It is required to have 2 car plates for a car, front and back.
Oh, so NFT, no, NFT are actually in a token format, so it is not. But of course, you can save it in a physical form. So you can save it what we call the cold wallet, or even a paper wallet. But that paper wallet is basically a piece of paper, which is actually what we call the private key. And it is just like, and you save the NFT in the key. So that could, if you say that's the physical form of the key to NFT.
Thank you so much, Henry and Wallace. The other one is a rather long one. Let me also read this out. For non-fashionable NFT, what if I break Mona Lisa down into 20 pieces and sell each as individual NFT? Another part of the question is that if NFT is just a direction to a position on a server, this helps in terms of identifying the specific NFT. If I want to use it, how to show my entitlement to use the NFT like other IP rights? How should I use the copyright legend to the NFT I bought?
So for example, I think back to your first question for Mona Lisa, actually interesting, I was like discussing yesterday, right? That's what they call the blue chip arts, right? And all that. So theoretically, right, you could cut Mona Lisa into 20 pieces, different pieces. And then each of them become a NFT. Theoretically, that is possible, but unfortunately, you would have destroyed Mona Lisa itself. So and therefore, nobody and in the art industry will be willing to do this. I mean, the price, as I said, the price for the art world is too great. So they would not actually destroy the blue chip, particular blue chip art for the NFT purpose, even though theoretically from legal point of view, that's possible. And for the second question, so that will be a JPEG file, just like the Beeple, the 5,000 days, as you see. So it will be exactly the result of the JPEG file, but you, with holding the NFT, so you are now the owner of that JPEG file. But as I just explained on that, even though you are the owner of that JPEG file, that doesn't mean that you have all the IP rights. So you have to look at, for example, for this side, let's say for Beeple, then you have to liaise and make sure the creator has passed it with all the IP rights. One of the very good example is like CryptoPunk and Bored Ape. Punk, when they first created it, they give you all the IP rights. So what does it mean? So you can, once you buy the CryptoPunk, you can use it. One of our clients actually uses as a company logo. They print it on mask. They print it on everything, on the bags, shirts, and everything. You can use it. But for Bored Ape, they have not. Originally, they just say, I sold you just a pic, but for the IP rights, you can only use it for commercial use and make a game for up to $20,000 US, something like that. So if you want to use it for other further commercial purposes, you have to go back and seek the consent for you to use that. For the Bored Ape for other things. For example, as you may see, some of the restaurant data and all some of the food products and all that. Some of them start to use, let's say, Bored Apes. But you have to be very careful, and you may have to go back to the original creator, the Yoga Labs, to ask for the permission to use it for that purpose.
Okay. Thank you so much again for Wallace and Henry.
Yeah, feel free to contact us, right? I'm sure a lot of answers. Like every time I'm doing this assignments, there are lots of questions, but feel free to contact us. I mean, afterwards, I know you know where to find us. Yeah.
Yes. On behalf of the Hong Kong Institute of Arbitrators, I like to express my deepest appreciation to both of you for your expertise, for your sharing with our audience. of course, just a friendly reminder for all of the attendees, kindly put forward a feedback form so that we can improve the webinar down the road. Thank you so much again, Henry and Wallace.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, if anyone to discuss a BDR thing and all that, right, together with Hong Kong IAC, I think that will be really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.